show on average a child moves 1 to 3 times within the first year. What effect, if any, will this have on the young person?
I think first of all, it's really important that a child doesn't move. A child needs to feel settled. They need to feel that they're wanted somewhere, and that somebody cares enough for them to keep them in their house. So it can be very destabilising. And it can also mean that maybe they have to move schools or they have to travel a very far distance to go to school, and nobody wants that for any child. I don't think it's right.
Why do you think the numbers are so high?
I don't have enough foster carers, so sometimes you're putting a child into an already very busy household. Sometimes we don't have foster carers who are able to look after children long term, so we maybe have short term placements, and then that's why they have to move. Because of what some children have suffered, some of their behaviours, they're very complex, and that's not their fault. And getting the right home for them can prove tricky. Just people that can parent them in the right way.
Is there a particular reason people aren't coming forward?
I don't know. In the last year, there's been a real decrease in the number of foster carers. It could be just nobody knows the impact that COVID has had on people. I think as well, people think that they have to be in a married couple situation to foster, whereas anybody can foster. So I think sometimes there's a view. I think as well, getting stories out of young people, because I have come across some people who think that young people in care are there because they're bad, and that is absolutely not the case.
And in the rest of the UK, a foster care can apply for a child to stay with them permanently after a year, but in Northern Ireland it's 3 years. Why is it the laws are delayed here?
Well, look, I think even as we're looking at this adoption and children's bill that we're coming forward, this was first even talked about back in 2007, I think was the first time that this bill has been brought forward. So we're way behind in regards to the laws that we actually have in regards to adoption, children's care and foster care as well. So that's what this is doing. We're actually catching up on an overhaul of Northern Ireland's adoption law. Almost 35 years has been long awaited by anybody that's been involved in the adoption processes. So all these changes have been long needed and will come about. And as I say, we're starting the legislative part of this bill, and we hope to have it. And my intention is to have it in place actually within this mandate as well. So it will be in place, and the laws should be changing, March, April next year.
Obviously, you announced this last October. I think Michelle O'Neill put it forward in 2017 as well. Why has it taken so long to be approved?
Well, actually, when looking back even further than that, Michael McGimsey, when he was health minister back in, I think it was 2005, 2006, actually started this piece of work. So it has taken a long time to get to where it is. I'm pleased and I'm glad that we actually have it now through and actually getting onto the legislative timetable. It is a big bill. And I think maybe that has been part of the challenge as to getting it where it actually is now. We've also been 3 years without an assembly, and the past year and a half dealing with a pandemic. But this was always a piece of legislation that was been worked on in the past. So it's about reprioritising the work that actually we had, I suppose, set to one side during COVID. But again, as you say, Michelle did bring back the bill in 2017 to start it again just before the Assembly fell. But what was able to be done during that time was another consultation on what was contained in the bill, because the first consultation had actually been done back in 2006. So it allowed us as a department actually to refresh some of the content, but also some of the work that needed to be done.
And as you say, this is obviously a huge step forward. What difference will the bill make to the children in the system?
Because it is a large bill, I think it will be life changing for many of those young people and children who are going through our adoption processes and some of the processes that are there as well in regards to fostering as well. There's a welfare checklist will be introduced. There'll be a reducing the delay to adopt a child. Actually having that come through, and that will sets out a statutory principle of no delay in the adoption decision. It actually requires courts to draw up timetables as well. There'll be adoption support service, and that will include financial support and access to counselling, and advice and information actually relating to adoption. Birth families and the adoptive families themselves will be able to request an assessment of needs, and then trusts will have a duty to provide information about the types of adoption support services that are actually available as well. There'll also be a look at the eligibility to apply to adopt and suitability for those people who want to adopt children, foster children as well. In the past, there's been no right to appeal if individuals were turned down. So this bill actually introduces an independent review. It establishes an adoption register, and the bill also enables the court to specify the arrangements for contact between a child and their birth family when they've actually been placed, either with a foster family or with an adoption family as well. So there's a lot of work that's actually been done there to make those changes. There's also part of the bill that strengthens the safeguards for children who are being brought into or out of Northern Ireland through an inter-country adoption process, and that allows us to have a more oversight view in regards to what will actually happen. Part of it then as well, there's changes to the children order where the bill introduces a further choice and will introduce actually where we'll have somebody to represent the children as well, and those special guardians and the children they care for will be provided with additional support. The bill also gives social workers more flexibility to provide financial support to children and families in need, and disabled children will be able to benefit from a residential short break without having to become actually looked after. And again, in regards to look after children, the bill will support children and young people who receive social care actually to be able to raise issues or make complaints about the services they receive, and they'll be supported through an advocacy service as well. So there's a lot of work in there as well in regards to what needs to be done legislatively, but it's also to make sure that the children and young people who are in care actually get the care and the access to opportunities and same learning opportunities as all the other children in Northern Ireland, because we've seen, that educational outcomes for children in those situations and circumstances don't compare favourably with their peers, so that needs to be improved. So the bill actually requires trusts to promote educational achievement for looked after children and actually to prevent disruption for education and training. There's a lot of work that we need to get on with, and I think as you've indicated on it, work that should have been done already in the past, but we haven't had that opportunity that we have now.